Hello out there in SIGT land and the rest of YouTube. This is Randy, and I've got a partial review here, not really a full review, but I am mostly going to concentrate on the disassembly of this weapon. So today we have oldie but goodie, but the Ruger Mark III. It's unloaded, no rounds, but the Ruger Mark III is one of the finer, I'd have to say, of the 22 pistols. This gun right here is been a staple for 22 shooters for many years. The accuracy, great, good functioning, good firing weapon. I don't know what more you can say about the Ruger Mark III, but the reason why I'm here today is actually to show you in grave detail the disassembly of this weapon, because the Ruger Mark III absolutely sucks. This is probably the hardest gun to disassemble in my book. As far as ease of disassembly, this one it proves to be problems, and I'm going to try to replicate some of the problems, and I'm also going to try to show you how to solve some of the problems on the disassembly of this weapon. So let's get right into it. Alright, so here we have our Ruger Mark III. The magazine's out and the chamber is clear once again for any non-believers. To disassemble this weapon, you must first have a magazine, and you can see, there's 22s in that magazine. Now, it's never a good idea to have any loaded rounds on your bench, so while you're disassembling or putting a weapon back together, so we are going to put these way off on the side in case any one of those bullets decides to want to jump back in the magazine and then jump back into the gun and then shoot itself somewhere else. Alright, so our chamber is empty. Check it again, check it even more. Bullets are out of the magazine. The first thing you're going to want to do, and what is key to always check the chamber over and over, is you're going to want to put the magazine back inside the gun, because this Ruger Mark III will not fire with the magazine out, and you are going to want to fire the gun. Alright, gun is fired. We checked it several times before we did that, because we do not want to have live fire in the basement, in my shop here. And then we're going to eject the magazine, and the hammer is down in the down position now. So on the back side here on the hand grip, you're going to see this little lever right here, and this little lever is going to pry out, and then this whole kind of cartridge thing will pop out. Now the thing is you want to have the gun on the bench where the butt of the gun is here, the handle, and then the barrel is over here, kind of at this 45-degree angle. If you do not fire the gun before you do this, you're going to find where this lever is not going to want to move freely. Once this lever moves freely like so, and it's just nice and free, you can now pull out this pin. And sometimes this is a little tough, and you kind of grab it with your two fingers and pull down really freaking hard. So that's proving to be a pain in the ass, and this is one of the problems that you're going to have with disassembly of this gun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a punch, and you can see the top of the pin right here. I'm going to take that punch and I'm going to pop it out, but I'm going to kind of wiggle this a few more times. Sometimes this thing comes out free and clear, and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, I'm going to move to the punch. I'm going to grab my hammer here, and I'm going to grab my punch just to save on time, and I'm going to hold that up, which I'm going to try to do this with the camera, but hold that up and get my punch here, hold that, give it a couple taps. Alright, it's moving now, so now hopefully I can pull it out. And it still don't want to pull out. This is why Ruger, it's a pain in the butt. See if I can tap that with that down. Alright, here we go. Alright, probably a little bit too low. Oh, there we go. Finally, it gave way. So it gave way. And now we can kind of see here. I'm going to get a little bit more light on that and see if you can see inside the camera. you can see where there's a spring that kind of holds that back into place. All right. Now here's where I find this gun is really tricky to disassemble. And I'm going to shine this down here. Let me see if I can get, okay. You see there is a pin right there in the back. You see that lever kind of going vertically up and down? That pin, let me see if I can get it to flop over. That pin flops around in there, and what that does is that actually holds onto the spring, or pushes onto the spring that is inside this little cartridge. If you look here on that, you can see that little dimple in the middle there, and what that is an actual spring, and that is your hammer spring. So that pushes down, a really stiff spring in there. That actually pushes the hammer up to hit the striker that's inside your bolt here. Now, the key thing about this is if that pin down there is in the down position like it is now, the hammer will not fold back because it hangs up on that bar. Let me see if I can get my flashlight here and show you, but there's this bar back here, right back in here, and that hammer, that pin will actually hold up on that bar while you're trying to pull it back. So it's key to flip the gun upside down now. Let me see if I can see down in here and get that hammer pin to fall back into that position. And once that hammer is in that position where it's folded back, you can pull the bolt back and out all the way. The bolt will come free now. Now what I like to do is take a little pick or something right here and push the hammer down the rest of the way. Now it's going to be kind of really tricky for me to film this because I don't have a lot of light inside of there. But you can see that silver block inside here, and I'm going to be doing this backwards and without feel so you guys can see it. But that silver block is the actual hammer. And see how I push that silver block down the rest of the way? Now it's free and clear. The hammer is now out of the way and the bolt can move in and out freely. If you don't push that back down the rest of the way, that bolt will want to hang up on you and it won't want to go down all the way. So that is disassembled. We can take the spring out here. We can just pull up on this thing, pull the spring out, and then you can clean the spring to, and then it actually reveals the firing pin in there, and you can clean around that. If you want to actually take the firing pin out, you'd have to punch that punch out and take the firing pin out. I have not done that, so this is one of the things that I'm probably not going to mess with. It's probably pretty easy, and you know, it's not going to be that bad. Actually, I'm going to try to do this right now for the first time and see if we can muddle our way through this. So I'm going to get myself my punch here. That pin should slide right out. Now my pin's free and clear, and hopefully there's no big giant springs in here. Oh, there is a little bit of a spring in there. So I don't have any tweezers handy, of course, but let me see if I can peel this out carefully to see about cleaning around the firing pin. Now I've never done this, so this might be pretty dirty. Alright, the firing pin is out. I'm gonna get my little towel here and wipe that off, wipe the excess oil and dirt and grime off, and we'll re-oil it and put it back in. Now I can see deep down inside of there, let's see, get a light, there's the spring that pushes the firing pin in the back position, and it does look like it's on a pin of some sorts. Yeah, there's a block that looks like it's in there, and it looks like that kind of holds the spring in place. So you can clean down, way down inside there, and make sure your firing pin is clean. And to put it back in, I imagine we're just going to slide it back in over that spring, make sure we're catching the spring, and back down on it. course, this is probably now the tricky part and why you probably should not take this apart. So we're going to start on the back side there, push it down, and see if we get our hole to line back up. Oh, yep, there's our hole. And where did I drop my pin at? Oh, there it is. So we get our hole to line back up, finagle our pin around, and that pin just slides right back in place. So that was pretty easy. That wasn't so bad. All right, I made that out to be a lot worse than it was, but it seems to be pretty good. All right, so now the reassembly, and the reassembly of the Mark III also can be proved to be problematic. All right, so now we're going to reassemble this and try to do it proper. The thing that you want to remember is this hammer inside of here, the block I showed you earlier, needs to be in the down position. If during your cleaning process or whatever it goes back into the up position or fired, you're going to want to push that block back down with some sort of tool. And the reason behind that is once we get our bolt put back together here, and make sure that slides back in and it operates properly. And I'm going to see if there's an up and a down to this. I'm wondering if the last time I disassembled it, it might got flipped. But no, I don't think that's going to flip around. Alright, so we're going to reassemble this. I'm going to put just a little bit of oil on there, so it makes our reassembly a little easier, because the disassembly was kind of dry. And I've oiled this bolt up pretty good. Alright, so now we're going to have the hammer in the down position so that we can slide our bolt back in. And if you can't get the hammer in the down position, don't forget about the pin in the back side here, that little itty bitty push spring pin. That will actually hold you up from getting the hammer in the down position. You kind of work your bolt in, make sure it pushes in all the way. Bam, that is in. Now, with that pin in the down position, we are going to reinsert our little, I don't even know what to call this. This is kind of like the spring bolt hold carrier combination lock-in master pin. So I'm sure Ruger's got a name for that. So that just slides back up. Make sure our hole is nice and lined up. And what you might need to do is push that spring back to let this pass through a little bit easier. And it seems like none of these parts ever just want to just work with you. You got to fight them the whole way. So spring back, push up, and there we go. There's our spring back, or our pin back in the holding position. Now the key thing is you got to flip this back over, and you got to get that pin to drop in this downward position. And I'll show you exactly. See how that pin is now down in that position? Let me flip it back up, and that is in the up position. Alright, that itty bitty pin. Let me see, up, and there it flipped down in the down position. Once that pin is flipped back towards the back of the gun, or the butt of the gun, we can now rock this back up into place. And the pain in the butt thing about that is, oh, and now I remember one thing I want to do. I want to try to fire the gun without, see, now that works really better, much better. That we got a little bit of oil on that. In fact, I'm going to put even more on that. But what I want to do is I want to fire that hammer down and put that hammer back in the upward position so that I can put this all together. And this is where you need to reinsert the magazine so that we can get it to fire. And then you need to put a little bit of pressure on that hammer. See, and this is why this gun is so complicated, because you got to remember all these itty bitty steps, and even me trying to explain it to you is such a pain in the butt to remember all the steps. So now I can put this master pin back in, which I forgot that step, and get that sucker to slide back over that catch with my tool. Alright, There we go. Now we can tip that pin back in that position. We're going to rock this in, and what you want to see is that that rocks in and has just a little bit of spring to it. If that's got a little bit of spring to it, you can now collapse that lever and everything should hold back in place. Now if you do this right, your bolt will actually slide back all the way. Now we left the magazine in, so of course it goes into lockback position, so that functions good, and slide and it goes back all the way. Now if your bolt does not go back all the way, you need to retake this back out and make sure that that small pin that's attached to that hammer is in that back position and it actually rides on the back side of this so it can catch the spring going back into that. And that, my friends, is the disassembly and reassembly of the Ruger Mark III. I do believe the Ruger Mark II is a very similar way. I haven't really messed with the 2245 that much, but I think the 2245 is actually a little bit simpler to disassemble than the Mark III. So that, my friends, was the disassembly and the reassembly of the Ruger Mark III. Like I said, Ruger, these pistols are very fine weapons, great shooters. The only thing that is scary about this is that disassembly and reassembly. They're very safe, you know, with the manual safety. These Mark IIIs actually have a chamber load indicator here that actually pops out. See, I can push it with my finger and pop it out, and it actually says chamber loaded. Then that slides back down. Your standard 10-round magazine, and the weight of this gun actually feels really good in the hands. For probably a younger shooter or somebody wanting to start off, they do make a tapered barrel instead of this bull barrel, and it does save on a lot of weight. But I'm not a 22 shooter, but one of the reasons why I love having one of these one of these weapons around is for new shooters. Somebody that is going to be afraid of that recoil, somebody that is you know, scared to fire a gun for the first time. This is the gun I actually start off on. This is going to have a very light recoil. It's going to show all the functions of any automatic weapon. You've got the bolt hold open lever right here on the side. You know, it's going to slide and lock back. So you've actually got bolt hold open after the last round's fired. That's going to slide back, and then you got your safety. And on the Mark IIIs, you're going to have a mag release here. On the Mark IIs, I do believe you're going to have a mag release down here. It's just going to be a lever that's going to pull away. That's one of the reasons why I like the Mark III, and I got the Mark III is for the mag release to be on the side, because most of your modern weapons, your mag release is going to be on that side. So comes with adjustable sights. The sights aren't that great, although the one thing about having a Mark III is the upgrade potential of this gun is phenomenal. To get any of the stuff, you're going to find parts everywhere. Everyone loves Mark IIIs, and you're going to find it all kind of places. The other thing I like that's really cool is they come pre-tapped here, and you can actually put a Picatinny rail across the top here for red dot optics or anything of that nature. So, you know, very fine, customizable weapon. Scary on the takedown, and the reassembly is scary. But if you can use this video to help you put your weapon back together and clean it and maintain it properly, I'm glad I made it for you, because I didn't have that option when I first got this gun, and I followed the Ruger instructions on how to take it down, and some of those little tricks with that pin going back and forth and that type of stuff, they didn't kind of really explain that very well. So if you get this, fine weapon, fine shooter, takedown scary. That's all I have to say. Hopefully this video helps you, and when you decide to buy a Mark III, you can use this video to help you take it down, clean it, and maintain it properly, instead of being like those many people that just want to throw it in some kind of drawer and be like, I'll just shoot it or whatever, because they do get dirty, and 22s are filthy rounds. So hopefully that does help you out and doesn't scare you away from purchasing a Mark III. This is Randy with SIGT signing out.